Here we go.
All right, welcome back to Beach Share Chats. My name is Brian Kaiser here. It's a exciting day for me. One, it's got to run it today, so it's a beautiful day, and I got to be by the ocean, which is awesome. But two, I got a guest who's across the ocean today, which is pretty awesome. Over in France, it's Eric Chamberlin. How are you doing today, Eric?
Very well, thank you. Nice to see you.
Well, it's you just informed me. Like I said, it's your fifth podcast, Five Timers Club. I don't have a jacket or something that's uniquely cool about this. But talk about your story a little bit. So it sounds like from what I've read through your bios that you were in classrooms and leadership, but now you're here and you're doing some pretty cool stuff over in
Mm,
France. What are you doing over there?
mm. What am I doing living here?
Now, what are you doing over there now? Like you
Yes.
got these projects, you
So
got some, you know.
right. I found myself on the short end of the stick in July last
Mhm.
year. One of those 8 a.m. New York time emails to everybody saying today's the last day, tomorrow
Yeah.
we don't exist kind of emails. So
Wow.
that was a big time gut punch. And I was not prepared at all. The work
Hmm.
that I was doing was with an online international school, fantastic program, really enjoyed it, learning a lot, and the rug got swept out behind me, underneath me, and my you just mentioned that I live in France. I've been here for a number of years, but my French is not strong enough to pivot to work face to face.
Yeah.
And geographically, also, I kind of live not in the middle of nowhere, but there's not a lot. It's at least a 90-minute drive to metropolitan city. So I have been a tech geek nerd, whatever you want to call it, my whole life. When AI came out, I was early adopter, both just fiddling with part-time stuff and little projects on my own, but also for the last year and a half with my last job, I was leveraging a lot of automation and AI stuff because we had a small school and we needed to be scrappy, so we built our own tools like help desk ticketing systems and student information systems. So I decided to put all that together and say, okay, can I take the latest tools plus my knowledge and my experience and actually build something that might be of use to somebody? And that first somebody was my wife, who is an English teacher here in
Hmm.
France. She has 116, 117 middle school students and has to assess them speaking
Hmm.
regularly, which is very labor intensive. She's tried all sorts of things from flash drives and MP3 players, MP3 recorders. So my first task was to see if I could solve her problem and make that process of here's the reading passage, read it, capture the audio, and get it back to her, which I did. And then that was it was an interesting realization for me. It was my first full scale kind of start to finish application that actually worked. And I understood the back end and I understood how to work the database and stuff like that. And since then, it's been it's been the wild, wild west a little bit. Moving on to take that same foundation and what's the biggest issue in education today? That would be assessment in the
Hmm.
age of AI.
Yep.
So I built an app that provides the ability to assign and complete an oral assessment at scale.
Okay.
Oral assessments have been historically the go-to, traditional gold standard to decide what a student understood and being able to defend it and extrapolate, etc. And in my opinion, it is the last bastion of AI resistance to get for a student to see a question or a product or their own work and
Hmm.
be prompted with questions live and
Hmm.
be responsible for formulating their answer and verbalizing those.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
those are great things because I work in education as well, and that's one of the biggest mysteries that people would keep going around in circles is the evolution of AI, and it's been around, but now it's hitting the education scene,
Hitting it hard.
and
Hmm.
no one knows what to do with it. They're trying to figure this out. trying to help students learn? Are they getting this? I think that idea is like you're creating, questions that it kind of helps engage them. It's not meant to use it to cut the corner to get the job done, but never learn anything. That's a big concern I think academics have
Yeah.
is are they quote unquote in terms cheating? And is it even cheating? Is it just being creative? But my concern is more about are they learning? Um,
Yep.
and so even you talk about artificial intelligence, doing this thing, right, it has helped because I generated questions for you within like 5 seconds, yesterday to
Yep.
this is what I'm going to use to lead this discussion based off of bio. So there are things about the technology that aren't a hindrance. And I want to say it's like taking away creativity, but it also helps people save some time so they
Oh
can
yeah.
be creative, which
Yeah.
is especially if you're doing it by yourself, right? Um,
Yep.
and so,
In 20 in I came to France the first time in 2015, 2016, without a job. And
mhm,
I thought I would either, get an online gig back then. I actually took a 90-day iOS coding boot camp.
mhm,
So I paid a pretty nice penny, and I was assigned curriculum and I was assigned a mentor, but I only had that mentor for 1 hour a week
mhm.
live. Everything else I was on my own. And in 2016, there was um, Slack was around, and there were some
Yeah.
Slack groups that I could jump into, and there was Stack Overflow. That was it. That was the only sharing. And now, 10 years later, I'm sitting here in my office. I think my portfolio, I think I've built and posted 8
Mhm.
different apps in the last year.
Yeah.
Um, and it's quite remarkable once you understand the backside of the database and the fact that you can host both of those for free out of the gate with zero risk. Then why not?
What?
Throw stuff up against the wall, and if it sticks, there you go. You've
Uh,
got
I might need to tap into your knowledge because I've always wanted to create my own assistant that because again I work in education and I would love to have like an assistant or a AI chat bot that would filter the questions to things that don't apply to me. So I get a lot of things like, can you help me with this? Can you help me No. Ask my chat bot. It'll redirect you to where you need to go so I don't have to get the inundated
uh
emails that make no sense to come to me.
uh-huh.
It just to be a filtering. I would call it Jarvis. If you follow Iron Man, his AI
Sure.
simulation, Jarvis would be the name of it. And just ask Jarvis, and they'll take care of all the questions and it'll redirect you to the right people. So it cuts down the amount of information that I have to constantly respond to and
Sure.
smarter, not
what what
harder,
level
right?
what level do you teach?
In higher ed, so I teach some collegiate courses here. I also do advising as well, so we just get all sorts of questions
Yeah.
every day. Can you help me with this? Can you do this? What do you know about financial aid? What do you know about? I know it, but that
Yep.
there's people that do that, right? So I'd rather have the students get to where they need to be. And I've always joked about getting my own little AI assistant to answer the questions for me before they ever email me. So especially those
Yeah, it's
midnight
totally possible.
those midnight questions when the students awake and are not gaming. It's like, oh, I just thought of this thing I have to ask my advisor at 1 a.m. They can just
Hmm.
ask the Jarvis bot and bug somebody else via email at 1 a.m. So
There you
um,
go.
so you've been doing this with education. I guess I always had this question because I just brought it up a minute ago. Like, what do you think one of the educators, like teachers, people in higher ed, misunderstand about AI right now?
What do they misunderstand? Um, yeah, I think being able to tap into the multimodal aspects of it, both the speech and
Mm,
the ability for it to capture images and video and analyze and use that
mm,
is pretty remarkable. Since 2026, we passed a threshold when Gemini 3.0 and Claude
mm.
5 6.4, whatever the numbers are.
Yeah.
Over the last 2 months, 3 months, it really jumped the shark, and I know plenty of people, including my own adult children, who
Hmm.
still don't care, haven't really dabbled into it much,
Yeah.
just have ChatGPT on their phone, maybe, and ask it what time does the game start, and
Hmm.
they're still treating it like a search.
Yeah.
They just transitioned, and a lot of the data shows that. And there's absolutely so much more. The organization in a
Hmm.
notebook LM, for example,
Yeah.
being able to dump a whole coursework full of, obviously you'd have to strip out the student data, but if you dumped in a whole coursework full of student responses in there, and you could, look for threads and
Hmm.
gaps, and that kind of analysis is just off the charts for the cost and the speed.
Oh yeah, Notebook LM is great. I've used that. I've showed our faculty here as well just what it does. I had one professor, she goes, "So does that mean we're being eliminated?" Because there's always that concern, like we're being eliminated. It's like if you think that
Yeah,
way, then it will be. But if you use it to engage learning, um, it's an asset to your students if you use it properly, and it really help them engage
yeah,
in their content. I also do another podcast for for school here, and one of the things I like to do every time I interview a professor of a program, I like to showcase their program. So one of the things I do with Notebook LM, I go through like their programs and I dump all the links into that, and it creates this conversation between three people or two people about their program, is that they're like talking about it, not just reading off information off a website. And I shared that once with one of the faculty, and they go, "Who's talking? I think I recognize that person's voice." I go, "You don't, but I appreciate that." But I explained what it was, and they're like, "That's kind of creepy, but kind of cool." And I think about recruiting, and it's like we're in an age now of trying to get students engaged in higher education. Everybody's the recruitment wars are huge. We got to get
yeah,
the student. How do we market them? Well, TV marketing's out, paper marketing
definitely.
is out.
Mm,
Social media is a thing, but yet we want to get the kids off social media because this can be too much. But that's where you find them, right?
yeah,
And if you have to be something creative that's short, you can't have this long to do thing that's going to be too much for the attention span. It has to hit right there, but also to the parents as well. They see the benefits, but you got to find those creative ways
mm,
to market, to promote. And artificial intelligence is something, if you use it properly and well, you can do some good things with it.
absolutely.
That's not damaging or scary or all those things, which is I think a lot of people need to take some time to understand it. I've done some task force here. I'm on part of another task force for the state of, or the state of Connecticut here for our school. So learning more about what it's capable of to really enhance teaching and
Mm,
curriculum design. We've used it to help create schedules for classes to make sure they run properly so they don't have conflicts. There's lots of great ways to use it, and I just think we
yeah,
have to get educators past that. Like it's terrifying now because like someone brought up this idea, the calculator came out, like, oh my gosh, they're cheating now because they have this thing that does it for them. But now it's this part of our fabric, and so it's
yeah.
cool that you're able to create what you've done, and I think it also probably helps keep that creative juices flowing. So using it, what are some projects that are coming down the pike for you that you're working on?
Wow, excellent question. Um, the latest build is to go back to what used to be called the learning management system,
Mhm.
and silos of create assignment, submit assignment, teacher reviews assignment, grades it, and done. Um, there's a there's a very large swath of what they call micro schools or co-ops or
Mhm.
unschools across the country, and they are forgotten by the big, LMS providers, because they're not part of
Mhm.
their market. And
Yeah.
so one approached me recently they're stuck in Google Classroom, and it's not meeting their needs at all. They're a mastery-based school, and so I'm taking all of the stuff that I've learned in those other apps to build in the voice capabilities of the assessment, follow the follow the data across, both the student longitudinally, but also across the students to look for gaps and stuff like that. So that's my latest focus. Not going to call it. It's not an LMS.
Mhm.
I'm still struggling on the name,
Yes.
but it's a cool. It's coming along pretty well. I'm pretty excited about it.
Well, no, I think it sounds like, obviously your story is interesting. Obviously, your previous identity, of 26 years of doing what you did. You talked about just the unexpected change,
Mm,
right, at the time. But it's always fascinating when you think about that and those moments. You're like, damn, this really sucks right now, to have this happen. And you go through this, but here you are, right? And you've found your way to now what you're doing now to create these new things. Do you find yourself being more invigorated or reinvigorated with this new chapter, even though you had all of that before?
mm.
Do you feel like this is giving you like a new lease on life now at this part of your career?
To a certain extent, yes. I being in France and both from the time zone change, but also just, relying on this form of communication with
Hmm.
literally everyone, not close, not exactly everyone, but pretty close to everyone in my life. That part gets hard.
Yeah,
And, there's not a lot of people in my close circle that really understand what what's possible and what I'm doing. They see what the outcome is, and that's we can talk about the outcome,
of
but we can't
course.
talk about, can't really talk about the struggles or the tricks and the workflows that I've been working on. So it's a little bit lonely for sure.
Hmm.
At the same time, I've also before I started teaching, I tried to be a financial planner.
Hmm.
And I really loved digging in with the families and sitting across the kitchen table and explaining things to them, but I couldn't get them. I couldn't sell. I couldn't close.
Yeah.
I was very bad at that part, which is not a very good way to earn a living when you're a
Hmm.
financial planner. So that's why I pivoted to education in like 1998. And so now I'm back out. I find myself back in a sales position because these apps are all well and good, but they're not going to pay the bills until
Yeah.
somebody actually sees value in them. So that part is different, but I feel better about it. I feel more confident because I
Hmm.
have all of that history and all of the experiences that I have. Um, and yeah, I ended up closing a very big deal just last night. So
Congratulations. It's like, I mean,
thank
is
you.
this the way to celebrate this? Is to be on this small scale podcast that I started to create, but
Absolutely.
it's.
Thinking about the beach.
I mean, it's cold here today. I don't know what the temperature is there. I mean, I'm in a sweater because it's 29 degrees. I'm ready for this to be over and actually be able to sit on the beach, even though I can go to the beach any time of the year. It's just, something about
Yeah,
summer, being outside, which is something you're doing, you're good at too. You're a big cyclist, you're a big skier.
yeah.
And sometimes it's even those endurance sports, um, it gives you a chance to create, to think. Do you find yours getting your best ideas when you're on the road like that when you're cycling?
Yeah, I'm almost embarrassed to admit that the very first vision that I had for an app, it came to me while I was biking,
Hmm.
and I literally going downhill, I couldn't do anything. But when I had like a 15 or 18 minute hike, and so I actually was talking to ChatGPT on my phone as we were climbing up, and I was, just like, "What do you think? And can I do that?" And da 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 da.
Hmm.
And I got up to the top of the hill, and I took all that information, and I did a deep research thing, which takes like 20 back last year. It used to take
Hmm.
like 25 minutes. So by the time I got home, I already had like the jump start on, the build to get started. So unfortunately, because I have a certain brain slash kind of mm, attention issue that once I latch onto something, it's like, okay, let's
Hmm.
really iterate it out, let's really flush it out. And now what's super exciting is that in just a couple of hours, I can go from that bike ride and that idea to actually looking at something that
Hmm.
is a real physical object. It's quite something.
Well,
Um,
we're finding out a new benefit of exercise now. Not only you think of ideas, you actually create something the entire time. And by the time you're
yeah,
done, it's like, wow, I had all this stuff in front of me. But that's
yeah,
something about exercise too. I do the same thing when I'm running. Even for this thing this podcast that I do, I always generate ideas. I'm thinking,
yeah.
what can I do with it? Can I make this engaging? How can I mean, I don't have a marketing background or anything promotions, but thinking about different ways to engage it, to connect people, to try new things. Like even asking people for photos makes sense. You can put it on this, share their photo, add, tag them into the photos as their story, their stuff. But it kind of creates to that whole concept. It's not just a podcast; it's a bigger thing.
Mm,
And using things like Substack to create more content when it comes down to that. So I have that going too. So
mm,
finally getting to a routine, but exercise does create that. It gets your mind doing things in a different way.
for
Not
sure.
only you can process ideas, create ideas, it's hash out struggles, even if you're stressed out, it's great to overcome it as well too. What are some of your favorite rides to do out there? Like what's the furthest ride you've ever done out there?
Kilometer wise, probably 40, 45. I have what is called a gravel bike, so it's a mixture between
Mm,
a road bike and a mountain bike. So
mm,
I prefer versus long, just flat pound out the kilometers. I
mm,
prefer getting like doing some road, and then I'll see a farm trail that I haven't tried before, and I'll just go explore.
mm.
I enjoy that more than being on the seat for more than 2 hours.
Yeah.
That is challenging, but there's the Tour de France comes around my region every year in the
Hmm.
Pyrenees, so
Nice.
um, I've got the ability to get to and have completed one, two, three, I think four of the cols in this region that they
Nice.
would be doing. Um, so each year I set a goal to say, okay, let's try and do this one. Or sometimes last year I did two back to back in one big ride. So it's more about the elevation gain than it is the kilometers.
Hmm. Well, the challenge, I find the Tour de France is just like, wow. Just the athletes to do what they do is
For
insanely
sure.
impressive. And people think, oh, just the average person, they're just riding a bike. There's not much effort. I think people who don't understand there's a ton of
Yeah.
effort to cycling. They were talking to someone once. It cracked me up because they're a Peloton rider. And they go, "Oh, look, there's the Peloton. See, is Peloton sponsoring the Tour de France?" I go, "No." I go, "The
Yeah,
Peloton is
no.
the term Peloton was that's," and I had to explain. It's not a marketing promotional thing. It's not marketed by the company Peloton. Peloton got its
Mm.
name from that group of people. They were
Yep.
humbled fast, but um, but being outside, would inspire the beach chair concept. I love stories. I love conversations. The kind of the thrill of it too, a little bit, is meeting people I've never met before my entire life.
Yeah.
It's like anything like you say gravel biking, you go off a new path. It's a new thrill. It's something unexpected. You don't know what you're going to get. And I've met some phenomenal people up to this point. You're another one included into this journey that I've done of
Yeah.
exciting stories, of really cool stuff. And you know, but the beach concept is it's the most relaxing place to be. So it's nice to be able to have fluid conversations with people about their lives, what they're doing. Um, when one turn goes bad, even with cycling, you might have like a bad ride or hit something unexpected you didn't see, you might wipe out or just crash. Or even
Mm.
skiing too, right? You're a big skier. You get in. We have the term yard sale. When I used to ski, when you go out the
Sure.
base at the bottom and you just take everything out. Um, that might have been what life was like for you 26 years ago. Like it's like our 26 your career, all of a sudden you just had a yard sale. Everything just got obliterated. You got to get back
Yep.
up, get back on a lift, get yourself back up there, and we're going to do it again. And
Yeah,
here
yeah.
you are doing some amazing things. You have your wife, right? She's there. You have kids, right? Do you have kids?
I have two adult children. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
are
And
they
the
in?
photos that you posted that you asked for.
Yeah.
The one photo is my youngest daughter. She was born in Colorado,
Okay.
but we moved back east where we were from
Hmm.
in her first year, and that was her first time standing on a beach, just kind
Nice.
of trying to contemplate the whole thing. I think she
Yeah.
might have been 10, 11 months old.
Hmm.
Um, and we were lucky to live there for a couple of years, so had lots of beach time. And the whole idea of that circle that forms in the late afternoon on the beach
Hmm.
with just people just telling, like you were saying, telling stories,
Hmm.
and and then the kids can just run, and there's no if you go to the park or you go to the theater or something like that, of course there's standards and everybody has to kind of follow the protocol. But at the beach, it's just like whatever, as
Freedom.
long as you can swim, or
Yeah.
the water's too cold in Maine generally to swim too much anyway. So
Yeah.
um,
It's a sense of freedom, right? It's a sense of responsibility to stop for a minute that you can just live and enjoy. And then they also take in awe of the vastness that is the ocean. I grew up in the Midwest, and you mentioned Colorado. I spent many times out, a lot of time out in Colorado, and there's a
uh-huh,
vastness to that. There's some mountains, the Rocky Mountains are this
absolutely.
impressive. You just be in awe. But when you look at the ocean, I mean, I think of stories, and I think I brought this up in another episode I was recorded recently. Is the amount of history that has existed on the water. Right? You think about
Mm,
it. You go between continents, people have sailed that have discovered things, who found new land, who've established something, or new routes, or and set forth. Right? There's a lot of history when it comes down to it. I always find it impressive just when I look at it. And even standing it after a long run, it's nice and cold now, so I don't need to do a cold plunge. I just walk out to the ocean. It's like, this is
yeah,
really
yeah,
cold. Right now it's
yeah.
jellyfish season, so I'm skipping it because I really don't feel like getting. I mean, it could be like a ten.
No.
It could be like a tens unit, and get a little shock and stimulate the muscles plus a polar plunge all at the same time. I didn't think about that. I might have to try that out. Maybe, I don't know. So,
I want to tell a quick story about the other photo. Um, the second photo that I sent you was me standing on the beach in Kuwait,
wow.
with my 360-degree camera. My wife and I took international teaching jobs there in 2019, which quickly in your head you can probably think, oh wait, so yeah, you were there during, yes,
Mhm.
exactly, COVID. COVID arrived 6 months later, and
Yeah.
it was a brutal experience to
Mhm.
be an expat um,
Yeah.
in a you know civilized, but not, when it came right down to it, not terribly developed country. But um,
Yeah. It's
and I'm glad that I'm not there now.
Oh yeah, That's we're at the end of close to the end of this podcast. That's a whole nother conversation about what would
I
be
know.
happening now. Oh my gosh, I can imagine just from a world sphere, just looking from being in France, looking back to the U.S. during all this stuff right now. I'm sure there's lots of opinions or lots of feelings. I'm sure even people within the country have
Oh yeah.
views of what's happening. It is an interesting and uncertain times. It's kind of somewhat
Hmm.
terrifying at times too, not knowing what's happening, what's going on. It's just like we're just trying to have a civilization, trying to do something fun. Even yesterday is like I'm doing these, I'm editing some episodes, and I know I released an episode today. It's just like, and you just want to try to keep doing these things even in the midst of
Yeah.
chaos, right? And uncertainty. And as you just try to find joy. And it's like someone says, just keep doing it, keep sharing your stories, you're helping people. It's not really here to help people, but it's just here to hopefully bring some kind of light to a
Yeah.
heavy place we live in.
Yeah. Podcasts for me have definitely been that medium,
Mm-hmm.
being, because you can do it like, biking, driving, mowing the
Mm-hmm.
lawn, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned so much over the last 10 years via
Well,
podcasts. It's and for no cost.
and I was just when I was out for a run today, since we were watching the Artemis 2 coming back to Earth, right? And they've been putting their pictures up online, and you're like looking at this and you think about the earth and how really insignificant we are and how big it is, right? But yet when we were in our own space, we think, sometimes we're the only person that matters, or the world revolves around us and everything that's happening is my problem, not your problem. But it's really we're one big planet. And there's lots of, if you look at that, this is scene they showed, they posted from the moon over and you see the earth, and it's like there's a lot of stories on that planet, good, bad,
Mm,
but everyone's has one. And I think here I am having one conversation with one person on this big planet, and you're talking to me one person on this very big planet. but we're sharing the
Mm.
story and it's pretty cool stuff. So, Eric,
Yeah.
it's been wonderful having you on here. The fact we're able to do this from, I don't know how many thousands of miles away you are from here, but we're able to connect and do this is pretty cool stuff for me.
It
And it's your
is.
Five Timers Club. Like I said, if I had a jacket or something cool, I'd send it for being your fifth time being on one. So I appreciate
Well,
having you
you
on
hold
today.
hold on to my contact information if you do come up with one. So
I'll have to find out something again, with creative marketing and promotion stuff.
yeah,
Get a Five Timers jacket or reappearance for someone to come on this podcast would be fun too. There's a couple of people I'd love to be bring back because they're doing some really cool things, and I would love to
yeah,
have them back as a guest to do something like a follow up on what they just did.
sure,
So,
sure. Well, I'd be happy to do that as because I think a year from now, my goal and my plan, the way things are tracking right now, next things will be very different next year. So I'm looking forward to that.
well, we'll keep in touch for sure. But it's been a pleasure having you on, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this day today.
Thank you. You too. Be well.